What is going on, guys? It is the Anime Jaguar here, or you can call me AJ for short if that is a tongueful for you. And today, with the release of Tenet in theaters, we are going to rank all of Christopher Nolan's films from 1998 to 2020. And I just saw Tenet in theaters yesterday, and I know some people haven't seen it, some people have seen it, and with the weird times, I will try to be as spoiler-free as possible when I get into Tenet. But I have some hot takes on this list. I have some unexpected top picks that most people have towards the bottom. I'm just going to say that. I have some hot takes. You may agree or disagree. We can have a friendly discussion down in the comment section below. But I'm just going to give you fair warning. You will disagree with me. I will have some picks that you're like, why the heck does he have it at number whatever? I have it at number 10 or 9 or whatever. And I also did a director ranking on Quentin Tarantino. It'll be up here in this playlist of my director's rankings, or it'll be down here. And with that out of the way, after this video, watch the director's ranking, and let's get into Christopher Nolan.
Number 11, Tenet. Overall, my thoughts on this movie after watching it for the first time yesterday is uncertain. I feel like it's a film that will get better after watching it a second or third time. The story will become less complicated and people will be able to watch it again in a year or two without worrying about the coronavirus. The score is great. If you didn't know who did the score, you would think Hans Zimmer did the score. The plot is complex and it's built like a puzzle. This is similar to Inception, but it has its differences. John David Washington plays a CIA agent who is enlisted into a confidential association who are on the case of weapons being sent from the past. I wouldn't be shocked if I end up liking this film more after watching it again, but it is hard to understand and you have to pay attention the whole time.
Coming in at number 10.
Interstellar. What Christopher Nolan attempted to do with this movie is inspiring, but the implementation is confusing. I don't despise this movie, but I don't love it either. Correspondingly, when the main idea of the film is love defeats everything, and then it turns into I've got to return to Murph. After watching the movie, I feel like this could have been a top 3 Nolan film for me, but it felt too rushed. Maybe they need another revise for this progressive story with massive points and modern things to blend it all together. This is his most faulty movie from my point of view. This film has the most basic imperfections. This is a movie I want to love, but something is clearly missing.
Number 9.
Falling. Before I did my ranking, I thought that this would be number 11 on this list. It's unjust to even include this in the ranking due to its low budget of only $6,000. His second lowest was Memento with a budget of $9 million. You can't really do much with $6,000 in general, let alone an hour film. It's hard to rank this movie with these blockbusters. An analogy I heard from a fellow YouTuber about this film was perfect, and I'm going to steal it from him. It was along the lines of this. This movie is like if a singer like Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande made a song before their debut album with an iPhone 1 while playing with a $100 Epiphone. You can tell that they have potential to be something great, but the production value is weak. This is the perfect way to describe Falling. The actors didn't have much experience outside of Christopher Nolan's uncle, and this had more of an Alfred Hitchcock vibe to it, which I kind of liked, but with its low budget, and there's so much really you can do with that, it's at number 9 on this list.
Number 8.
Dunkirk. This is a war, survival, and a Nolan film at the same time. This combination works well together. This is not a typical war movie. The characters are not the focal point, which hurts the film a little bit. The dialogue is not as strong as other classic war movies. I like how it is a survival story of an event where it feels like the audience is there with them in this logical, barbaric, battle-scarred beach. This film messes with your emotions. Nolan found a different way to tell a war story that is enthralling and intriguing because it doesn't have the war movie cliches. It took away the love story without being anti-war. This was just a story about this event and how the citizens came to rescue the soldiers because they're in it for the long haul. This story should have been more pessimistic, but you feel optimistic in it. I was impressed that I still cared about most of the characters, even with the lack of dialogue.
Number 7.
The Dark Knight Rises. I admire the intention that he was going for. I enjoy this film, but it's a little messy. You can definitely notice the effort they put into the script to set up this colossal ending to an iconic trilogy. Similar to Interstellar, it felt like something was missing. I feel like they should have split the grand finale into 2 parts. My movie theater experience for this movie was magnificent. I went to see this film in an IMAX theater. When I was younger, I always thought it was a huge deal to see a movie in an IMAX theater. Everything has meaning in this film. Each scene has a purpose and it fulfills its purpose. It immediately shows how everything that happened in The Dark Knight damaged Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon. Later on in the movie, a vulnerable Batman attempts to battle Bane. It goes as well as you would expect. This film shows Batman as most vulnerable. I love this movie, but there are serious flaws with it that prevent it from being higher.
Number 6.
Inception. The screenplay is astonishing in the way it has massive ideas about contemplating and investigating ideas. This is a film that has several different meanings from the get-go, and it stays that way through the entire runtime. When you get to the climax, it has a fulfilling solution. The non-definitive solution is the definitive solution. It took me a while to realize that. The main character moves on at the end of the film. For a movie about dreams, it doesn't show how disorganized dreams are in reality. There is a lack of reason to real human dreams, where you turn around and you're in a separate location. Nolan should have gone more into that route, but instead it's a Christopher Nolan take on real-life Esker drawings. But I'm just nitpicking here. It is easy to take no notice of certain things that transpire in the movie. There's an outstanding snow skiing scene that is inspired by a James Bond movie that you can easily forget about. These flaws aren't the end of the world, but you would notice them in other movies. I don't love Inception as much as most, but it's still a great film and I respect it for what it did.
Number 5.
The Prestige. My favorite thing about this movie is how it gets into these two magicians who want to be the best and nothing but the best. They're willing to do anything to be the best. There is always something intriguing about individuals that are obsessed with artistry that's powered by their competitiveness. They both want to be the greatest showman while also loving the magic itself. They both want to do something revolutionary for the world itself with the use of magic. The film also gets into what motivates them both positively and negatively. Both characters are played by all-time great actors that adds integrity to the movie. They're able to make jerks into likable characters that the audience cares about. I can see why Christopher Nolan made this film. He was comparing magic to the art of cinema throughout the entire runtime. It gets into the behind-the-scenes aspect of magic. Magic occupies the majority of their life. Their life is just one trick after another. Nolan has all of these ideas that interweave and adds to the plot, and everything the audience is seeing.
Number 4.
Insomnia. This is the least Christopher Nolan of all the Nolan films. In a way, it was a breath of fresh air. This is a remake of a Swedish movie, and he wasn't even credited as a screenwriter for this film. This is his first real studio film. What we got was a classic psychological thriller, and he does a magnificent job of expressing this story. If you only read the summary, it doesn't sound like anything special, but Christopher Nolan found a way to make this his own interpretation. This movie is more about the development of Al Pacino's character, rather than figuring out the murder enigma. Al Pacino's character has to face mistakes he made in the past and how he'll be remembered. The outstanding performances by Al Pacino and Robin Williams enhances the film. Al Pacino plays a poised investigator, but he becomes preoccupied by everything in his life. He's attempting to steer this investigation and stop a murderer while also having insomnia. Robin Williams gives a frightening performance. This was around the same time he made more dramatic films. He leaves his comedic roles behind to put on this impressive act. He plays this character that attempts to exploit this private investigator that's compromised in different ways.
Number 3.
Batman Begins. I adore this movie. Batman Begins is a fresh film. I enjoy origin stories, so this is a great Batman movie to me. This is the ultimate Batman origin story. It is a pleasant and incisive film made by an iconic director. This is a superhero movie that is a character analysis of a flawed person, but he decides to use it to his advantage. This is an enthralling plot that makes the audience feel passionate. The screenplay is clever with Alfred and Katie Holmes. It examines Batman's psychology, which makes you appreciate the character more in ways we had not before. All of that makes this a great film that I absolutely enjoy. I am pleased by the way Nolan's perspective is told. This is one of the best superhero movies of all time. This also has one of the most talented casts in a superhero film of all time. If you take Katie Holmes out of this movie, this is an extraordinary cast for a film. I don't think Katie Holmes deserved all the criticism she got for her role in this movie, but I can see why people said what they said. Some other notable actors would be Ken Watanabe, who played Decoy Ra's al Ghul, and of course Christian Bale, who immediately turned into an A-list actor after his performance. He had been around for 2 decades before Batman Begins, but this was when people started to notice him more, and not just movie lovers. I could talk on and on about the cast of this movie. There's just so many, like Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman. I could go on for probably a whole YouTube video just on this movie, but I'm just going to end it on this. This is a good movie. You should watch it. Number 2, Memento. The best thing about this movie is that it's a remarkable cinematic experience. There are plenty of films about a husband attempting to follow his wife's murderer. There are also plenty of movies about someone with amnesia who can't make new memories. Finding Nemo is a classic example of that. Finally, there are plenty of neo-noir films with characters seeking to inspect things. I'm trying to say that this isn't completely original, but this is a movie that flawlessly combines the character, condition, storytelling format, and an irresponsible main character. All of this leads to a fulfilling ending. Some people have criticized the film because they think that it's a shtick to tell the plot backwards. They think that if you watch the movie in order, it's not captivating, which is accurate, but it misses the point. This is a special story for this distinct character that needs this unmatched storytelling format to tell the story that works backwards. That's what makes it incomparable. You can call it what you want, but that's the brilliance of the film. It's amazing how the audience can get in the point of view of the main character that struggles to remember what happened seconds before. Cliffhangers are ordinary in films and television, but Christopher Nolan does something different with it. This is a discreet movie that is unlike anything before and since. Number 1, The Dark Knight. This is a skillful movie that has an astounding cast. People are quick to mention Heath Ledger's Joker performance, but Aaron Eckhart's performance as Harvey Dent is underrated in my opinion. All the components that make an iconic movie are in The Dark Knight. The third act with Batman fighting Joker and the Bandits is impressive, but you care more about what's going on in a prison ship. Christopher Nolan reviews ideas of aspiration and escalation while telling an inspiring story that has stakes where tragic things happen to the protagonist. Even when good things happen to the protagonist, tragic things aren't far behind. All of these ideas make for actual disputes and spectacle. Every action has consequences in this film. This is a relatable movie. You feel enthralled by events that occur and you emote with the characters. The reason why this is my favorite Nolan film is because this is his most personal and uncomplicated. With Inception, there are 4 narratives occurring at the same time. Interstellar has tales about love conquering all and fifth-dimensional time travel. Memento is told in reverse order. Dunkirk has 3 narratives. Nolan always strives to tell these revolutionary storylines in divergent directions. He can get away with doing those types of movies, but in The Dark Knight, he takes a well-known character and tells a basic superhero story starring Batman, except the Joker is the main antagonist. And this is why it's at number 1.
Thank you.